All right, so we just got the call that the roof rack's ready, so we're on our way up to Precision Powder. It's about a 25-mile drive to get there. We're excited to get it, check it out, and then get it back to the shop and get it on the Jeep. So hey, we just want to take a quick second to make a disclaimer. Now, we've seen some people ask in the comments, hey, why isn't this build getting done quicker? And now we're trying to figure out a way to still do everything that we do here at Extreme Customs. I mean, a lot of people don't know that we actually do custom drilling. We're one of the few shops in the United States that can custom drill wheels to just about any bolt pattern out there on the market. You know, and that's one thing that sets us apart, but it also keeps us extra busy. You know, here's a perfect example. We got one fresh off the CNC machine. Now we taper the back pad, we open up the center bore, and we actually custom drill. I mean, if you got wheels that you need to go on a golf cart or something crazy like a four-wheeler, we got the capability to do all that custom work here in-house, and that keeps us pretty busy. On top of, we ship out hundreds of sets of wheels to people around the United States, and they just buy right off our website, extremecustoms.com. So, you know, that's one thing that can help some of these, or make some of these processes take a little bit longer. But, you know, hey, we're doing everything we can to get you guys some cool content while getting all our other customers taken care of. Moment of truth. I would have to say that's a pretty good looking piece right there. So in this episode, we're going to be breaking down the front axle on this Jeep. Now, a lot of people have been asking, you know, where are the meat and potatoes to this build? Where's the money going? And are we building it so that it's actually going to be trail capable? And I would say, you know, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to ask, why did you build a Dana 30 to this extent? Why didn't you go with a Dana 44 or a Dana 60? And the main reason being is the customer wanted to stick with a Dana 30 and he wanted to beef it up as much as he possibly could. So we threw the kitchen sink at this thing as far as all the available parts that were out there. So I mean, starting with the internals of the Dana 30 itself. Now we utilized a set of Iron Rock Offroad axle sleeves that basically double the wall thickness of the tubes throughout the axle. Now that's going to allow you to have some more confidence going down the trail, that the axle tubes won't bend and break. And then to make that even stronger, we utilized a Rusty's Offroad truss system. So we welded this truss kit in here, and that was able to actually get us some mounts for a hydraulic steering system that I'll talk about here in a minute. You know, and then the other weak points on these axles a lot of people are familiar with are the factory C's. Now this will bend and break under certain conditions, especially if you're running a bigger tire like a 37, which I know a lot of people wouldn't recommend on a Dana 30. But if you were going to run all the way up to a 37, you know, these weld-in C gussets here are definitely an added bit to strengthen that up. You know, so that was definitely a must when we decided to do this. Now we ran into that issue that you'll have when you do install these C gussets, is that it'll split the factory CV boot if you don't grind that out of there. Now we didn't want to take away any of the strength on that, and it made sense that after running these for a little while that we upgraded to a Chromoly U-joint axle conversion kit. And now what that's going to do is just get us that extra clearance inside there to allow that to you know, be able to rotate its full assembly without touching anything. So that's going to be an added beefed up internal piece on there. That's really going to help just make this Dana 30 as strong as it can possibly be. Now you can't do all that, you know, it has upgraded wheel bearings, you know, and then the Dynatrac heavy duty ball joints were an absolute must too with this kit. Now if you're not familiar with the WJs, you know, or any Jeep really that has a common failure of its ball joints because of a, you know, a wild off-roading weekend, these Dynatrac ball joints are going to be rebuildable, and they're going to be some of the toughest ball joints we could find on the market for these Jeeps. So that was a definite must when we were adding in parts. You know, to take you to the front of it, so it's got the aluminum tie rods. Now these look a little beefier than factory because they're actually 1-ton Chevy ball joint ends all the way around, and then it's going to be 70-75 aluminum bars. Now these bars can take all sorts of abuse, which is why we decided to go that route. And it was neat. We dressed them up a little bit with a little bit of you know, brushing on the aluminum. And then to tie in all the trussing and to protect the hydraulically assisted steering system, we decided to rock the Ironman 4x4 Fab Hydro Assist skid plate. Now that skid plate also just doubles as more protection for that front tie rod, just in case you're sliding across some rocks. And then doing all that and making the Hydro Assist system work, that was its own can of worms that we got into. And to do that, we switched over to an over the knuckle setup. So traditionally on a WJ or Dana 30, you're gonna have your ball joint stud coming up through the bottom with a nut on the top. But we flipped it around, tapered this so that it'd be an over the knuckle system. And what that did is brought our tie rod up far enough to allow this Hydro Assist skid plate to fit, real nice and tight. And then that just baskets and protects that PSC hydraulic ram that we got tucked in here. Now, after running this on the trail and on the road, the customer is deciding to make this a removable option and run just a regular steering dampener to match his Bilstein 5100 shocks. And that'll be just a more economical way to be able to drive this on the highway without having any issues, because Hydro Assist technically should not be ran on the road. It's really just an off-road, upgrade in our opinion. And so that's going to be the reason for that. Now, we did install this to make everything work, which was part of the reason why we did the over the knuckle kit. Now, you wouldn't necessarily have to do this if you didn't do the Hydro Assist skid plate, but we thought since we're beefing everything up and bringing everything up a little higher. Now, when doing all that too, we had to relocate the factory track bar bracket here on the bottom. So you'll see this is another piece made by Ironman 4x4 Fab, real quality piece that we were able to cut and use, and integrate into the Dana 30 to allow their upgraded track bar to be installed. So, and then definitely a couple other pieces in here to mention would be, it's got the JKS quick disconnect adjustable sway bar end links, running a set of Bilstein 5100 shocks. And then, talking about the lift kit. Now that's really the part that people are probably wondering, what all does this vehicle have in it for a lift, and what do we all plan on doing? So right now it's running an Iron Rock Offroad Pro Link 6.5-inch long arm lift kit. So that's going to be a 3-link setup in the front. They utilize 3 arms to allow the most travel, and it's definitely a beefed up kit. I believe the thickness on the long arms is like 2 5/16. So definitely going to be, a sturdy product. You're not going to have to worry about bending them. It's definitely going to be up to the task, and a quality lift. It's been ran in the Jeep now for over a year, but we're going to be swapping to some 8-inch lift springs. So we're going to go up from the 6.5 all the way up to 8, and then use a few more inches of spacers, because the customer really wants to be up at that 10-inch mark or close to. So it's definitely going to be a while once we get it on the ground and see really how high this thing's going to be lifted and how much extra travel we'll have once those 8-inch springs are installed. So that's just a general breakdown. Now, it does have the upgraded diff cover, because you can't have everything else beefed up but have the wimpy factory diff cover. And that's also another piece made by Ironman 4x4 Fab. Now it's going to be 3/8 inch thick. Definitely going to be able to take some abuse. Let's see, and then some other pieces we added on here. There's some control arm gussets that were welded, because that's another common weak point on these axles. You definitely don't want to bend those. So that was upgraded as well. And then the whole axle was undercoated, with like a bed liner spray, just to preserve all the extra pieces that are on there so nothing rusts out. So I know we might catch a little bit of flack for really upgrading a Dana 30 to this extent. A lot of guys out there, after explaining everything that went into it, would be like, wait a minute, why didn't he upgrade to a 44 or a 60 right away? Well, I mean, we really thought it'd be cool to just see how much you could get out of a Dana 30 before having to swap an axle out from, say, a newer Wrangler, or finding a used axle, because that can come with its own set of inherent problems right out the gate. So he knew what he had from the get-go. He knew all the work that was going into it, and all the work was done quality. So I mean, in the end, with all this being done and everything being welded, I'd find him hard pressed to break this axle, but you never know. We'll see how hard he uses it out on the trail. All right, so we wanted to talk about the wheels just a little bit more. Now, when we brought out that we're gonna put 20-inch wheels on the Jeep, but didn't clarify that there's actually gonna be 2 sets of wheels ran on this Jeep, depending on the environment that it's gonna be in, say, for that month or that weekend. So we got the 20s and we got the 16s. And I bet you a lot of people out there would be a lot more of a fan of the 16s because it's just got that much more tire. Now, when the customer saw the same version of this tough T15 wheel in a 20x10, he was able to look at it and be like, you know what, it's different. Not a lot of people would run it, but you know, it still has its purpose because, to be honest, you know, a couple scratches on a wheel or, you know, airing it down, obviously is gonna be the best option on the trail. But then when you got something like this that's got plenty of sidewall, you're able to air it down, you know, it's not gonna be too flashy, too fancy. Now, this is probably gonna be the way that a lot of people lean. So 2 different options that the customer has here, depending on what his plans are with it for, say, that given weekend or month. He's got the 16x8 T15s, rocking a set of 315 75/16 Nitto G2s. And then, you know, for the little bit showier side, he's got the 20x10 T15 wheel coming in at a -19 offset, rocking these AMP Mud Terrain Attack Pros. You know, and those are coming in at a 305 55/20. So definitely not a lot of sidewall on this one for all that trail use, but you're gonna have plenty of sidewall on this one. So 2 different options. I mean, let us know in the comments what you think. You know, would you, if you could have 2 different sets of wheels, would you be switching them around, playing with 2 different sets, or would you strictly stick with, you know, that fat tire, smaller rim combination? You know, we'd like to see your guys' thoughts. Obviously, we saw in the last video that some people had some different comments, and so we thought we'd just, you know, just reiterate that there was 2 wheel sets going on this Jeep, and it wasn't just gonna be these 20s. But for the meantime, while he's gonna be having fun with it this summer, we're gonna rock the 20s, you know, and just see how it looks. So I think you'll like these wheels a lot better once they're on the Jeep, you know, at least for that show purpose, but you'll still be able to see these on there too. You know, the one main reason too why we went with the 20x10s, granted the customer was really looking to go with 18s, but when he saw the 20s, he's like, you know, it just looks so, I don't know, we called it like a modern Hot Wheels. It just had that bigger look that maybe you'll see more in 2019. Definitely not a big thing for the old school guys, but you know, it worked. And the main reason it worked was because when we ran the over the knuckle 1-ton steering ends on the tie rods, they had clearance issues with the 16s. So we were able to, you know, fix that issue by just going with a little bit bigger rim as opposed to pushing the rim out with a spacer or something like that. And that's where the 20s came in. There was just plenty of room. You weren't really working with tight tolerances. Granted, it's not that big of a deal. As long as it clears, you're good. But the 20s just gave you that extra little bit of room. So let us know in the comments what you think about these wheels. Which one would you run if it was your WJ? We definitely know the customer couldn't make up his mind, so he went with both. But yeah, so stay tuned for some more content coming out.